Hello everyone and welcome back once again to the Osomania 4K World Cup 2023. Or actually, this will be the first time you are here for the 2023 edition at least. But hey, it's a pleasure to meet you all. We are live on stage at COE this time around. We'll be revealing the qualifiers. And of course, this is kind of a new experience to everyone really. I don't think we have ever seen a World Cup stream live like this, so it's gonna be very fun. My name is Juan Cristal, commentary of the Mania World Cup team. I'm joined by Paturaj.
Yes, I am a commentator and also part of the map pooling team. I will be like the representative of the map pooling team, as well, Mint is a little bit too far.
About, what is it, 14,000 kilometers away? Somewhere around that point, well.
Yeah, by the way, shout out to the Americans who actually woke up for this, because it's really, really early for the time zone. So we thank you for like allowing us to start earlier as well.
Of course, the Asian population may be happy about this because the schedule is a little bit better for them. Should be maybe around 6 p.m. So really good for the Asian continent. And well, what else can I say? Like I said, this is the first time we're doing something like this, so hopefully it runs smoothly. I'll explain very briefly and very quickly how the qualifier works for those who don't know. We have a qualification stage where all the teams that sign up get to play each map twice and in order between stage 1 and stage 8. We have 8 different map sets to be played. Everyone has a single difficulty and test different skill sets from SVs, LNs, hybrids and Rise. And between different levels of difficulty as well. We have maps that are around round 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the idea is that the better teams seed better, obviously. Whoever gets the highest scores on each qualifier will get a better seed and therefore a technically easier matchup going into the round of 32, which will be double elimination as we are used to. And 8 stages this year. I don't think we had any changes compared to last year.
Yeah, the structure is going to be pretty similar, but what's not going to be similar is the overall difficulty of those maps, as you will see, well, in a moment, really.
It will get very, very tricky, guys, so I hope you train a lot and I hope your physical abilities are on top notch because you will not expect how hard the spools are getting this year. Last year we had a big jump already, but this year, woof, it's just going straight to the moon, I will say. I'm glad I didn't sign up for this tournament this time around because boy will my hands hurt. And as you can see already, we are getting a little bit of feedback into the screen and we should be about to start with the stage 1. I think Patu will be presenting you this one because I have this feeling that he had something to do with this map. I could be wrong.
Yeah, as part of the map pooling team, I'm also in charge of the SV department of the map pooling. And so I'm probably the best mapper to actually map this kind of qualifier because in my vision actually of the map pool, I do have a vision of what would be best to test the overall skill sets of people.
Absolutely. This is stage 1, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in here, a round of applause for the Mania World Cup showcase as we are about to start with Sakura vs. Shaz. This is Paturaj's map, and it's 170 BPM to infinite BPM, so you can expect SVs a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of a slow start, kind of a reading base with the teleports at the beginning. Very, I guess, very metronomic. And here we go for the first gimmicks. This is pretty accessible in my opinion.
It is. Yeah. Like, as you can see, the gimmick is very simple. You see one column, it has a full stop, and you have 3 notes in consecutive session. If you know the song, which I think most people will be familiar, this was used as a tiebreaker back in the days. I think it was group stage of Mania World Cup 2018 or something. So the song being reused, but now for the purpose of SVs. And most of the gimmicks, as Pat was saying, was mostly reading intensive and some amount of memo, if you will, with those one column gimmicks, and it scales up very quickly. As you can see in this section, it's kind of the same gimmick, it's just that you don't have as much time to react to it. You kind of have to memorize how the trick was played on the previous section to hit it properly.
Yeah, like the sections are patterned more or less the same, but it's just the gimmicks that get progressive the more you go into the map. So you only really have to learn one pattern, but basically reading it is the main challenge of this qualifier. And this is pretty short, actually. This is like 1 minute and 55 seconds. So nothing too severe, but we placed this on the hard side of round of 16. A little bit easier than quarterfinals, really.
And now going straight into stage 2, not wasting any sort of time. This would be, well, not necessarily your easiest pick. Some people expect stage 2 to be the easiest non-SB map, but I'll say this isn't the case. We'll have a map after this that is slightly easier. This will be around round of 16, so you might be surprised because this is very, very hard. As you can see, this already has many tricky, bursty patterns, and overall test is somewhat of a hybrid nature, if you will, but only on the rise department. And it's only 8.3, so expect a lot of accuracy drops in these tricky timing sections.
Yeah, the snaps do go everywhere, and this is just the beginning of the chart. And this file in particular is very backloaded, so what you see up front here is like not at all the most intensive part of the map at all.
Yep, not at all. When I was seeing this the first time, I was like, okay, this looks hard for round of 16, but I can see the improvement of the players. I can see the change of difficulty being somewhat of a necessity. But after you get to the last quarter of the song, you're like, okay, so players are this good now. I see. But as you see right now, the patterns, although are fast and they're bursty, they are for the most part fairly tame. There isn't many hidden mini jacks that can trip you up. Most of the patterns are somewhat rolly, and it's not extremely dense. But when we get to the ending, like you can see on the screen already, Hori is playing this. Some people might remember this player as Lothus, so one of the best Brazilian players we have ever seen, with one of the most spectacular accuracies in the game, and stage 2 and is only a 997k, so I was scared when I saw that score. And it's mostly due to the second half being very, very, very tricky. You get a little bit of a break here, which in my opinion doesn't really help. If anything, it only hurts your accuracy to have such a break here. You need to reset your timing in a way after going with very bursty patterns, and after that transition over there, we go straight into the hard parts.
Yeah, the transition is especially hard to get good accuracy on because it deals with BPM changes and so on. So, like, we are going into the last part of the map, which is by far the most intense part of the map. And also shout-outs to Alien Cart for bringing us this custom map. Every single map in the qualifiers is custom made, by the way. Shout-out, really great shout-outs to the Mappool team and the mappers. We wouldn't be there without you.
Absolutely. And as you can see, the 174, this is our sixes, I think, right? These are very, very fast. And this is the part that gets a bit techy, so it's very hard to keep your combos up, as you might expect some misses from pretty much everyone on those mini jacks. And when the bursts get a little bit faster as well, some 200s will definitely be dropped. Oh, the 8.3 on this is no joke. People, be careful. This is round 16 level. And let's go straight into stage 3, I think, which is arguably the easiest map of the qualifiers pool. This is a hybrid, so you can expect a lot more lens than what you see on the previous picks. And yeah, this is around round 32 level. I will say maybe on the upper side of round 32. As you can see, this is a XI map, or song rather. And yeah, there isn't much to be expected here. It's just your average hybrid pick. You see a lens combined with Rise for the most part. Eventually some mini jacks, but the song is only 140-ish BPM, so the mini jacks are not that tricky because they are not that consecutive. It's mostly about keeping up the consistency of not dropping with the coordinations aspect this map requires. As you can see, there's many releases that are disjointed on different timings, and eventually even some flam low notes, which are very tricky to hit properly and accurately. So players fishing for very, very good ratios on this may struggle a little bit, and they definitely will have to fish for that high accuracies. I expect this pick to be one of the highest scoring picks of the pool.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the country's lineups as well, because this is pretty hard to get good accuracy on. There's a lot of coordination involved, lots of releases, as you said, and I would say as the easiest hybrid, this is very much more coordination focused than what you will see later on the later part of the qualifiers map pool.
Yep, and you certainly have not seen the LM pool yet. This is just a hybrid. And I think this kind of complements a little bit one of the things that I believe the other two Olympics that we're going to see later lacks a little, and it's this somewhat slow coordination release aspect of the game that a lot of people struggles with, because sometimes when the releases are fast enough, you can cheese most of it without dropping too much accuracy, but when the BPM is this low and you have like gaps of 1/4 and even 1/6 sometimes, you really have to pay attention to those release timings properly, or you will drop your accuracy quite a lot. And a map like this, when every 200 matters for your seed, like last year we saw a finals map being dropped for exactly 3 points, so you really need to fish for the best of your accuracies every time you can. Some people may sacrifice some of their accuracies on this kind of pattern specifically with the burst DLNs, but other than that, you really have to be very sharp with the jacks to the degree.
Yeah, so shoutouts to Elixir. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Correct me if I'm wrong, really, but I think this mapping style is very reminiscent of Elixir's hybrids, which we have used a lot throughout tournaments, so people familiar with the current tournament meta will not be estranged by this kind of hybrid.
20-to-1 ratio, casual play by Lotus again.
Yeah,
kind of a beast. And now into stage 4. Oh boy, stage 4. So some people may know my mapping style as timing hell. Well, this is kind of like a timing hell, but in qualifiers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a collab between Ravili and Mysterion. And this is 5.5 stars already. So very, very tricky. 250 BPM, very, very fast. End of Fairy Tale. And yeah, just what you would expect for a random normal timing hell, really. A lot of anchored releases and very tricky to coordinate properly due to the high BPM.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is quarterfinals level, by the way. And the fact that we're going this hard in quarterfinals kind of spells the landscape of the entire Mappool as we have planned it for this year.
Yep, you can see there's like 2, maybe 3 node anchors a lot of the time, and they are very, very tricky to coordinate. This is one of those maps that is either very easy to miss if you're not fast enough, or very hard to time if you're too fast for it. So you really need to adjust your timing for this to be perfect. This mapping style specifically, and this part specifically, which is very, very heavy into the coordination, you really have to pay attention to that third and second column through those transitions. They're mostly isolated in one hand, so you can play the other hand without worrying too much about it. But if you don't identify that specific portion of the map, you can easily drop a lot of misses, and you can easily sort of column block in them. Somewhat of an embassy section here, very, very fast. And like I said, you really need to adjust your timing here if you want to hit good accuracy and not many misses. Like, this is a time of map that when you start dragging, you just hit 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, and it just doesn't stop. It's very hard to adjust in the middle due to how fast it is and how small the gaps between the releases and the hits are. The shields on this are very, very rough.
Yeah, just listen to the timing hell expert here, him who does the best. And well, what he doesn't do the best is that he's been feeding you misinformation this entire time. This is not a collab with Mysterion.
Oh, it's not with Mysterion?
Oh.
I thought it was.
Chat will tell you the truth.
Chat's correct,
really.
I thought it was. So is it just a Ravili char then? Never mind.
I don't actually know. Well, in any case, there are also like very speedy parts in between those coordination bits, and at 250 BPM, that is pretty chokeable.
Well, at least it's OD7, right?
And this is OD7, yeah, so it is pretty forgiving compared to the rest of the qualifiers, but
Oh, stage 5. Oh, the hit sounds.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Yeah, have fun. I think that we can describe this map as have fun map. 6 stars a lens, 7.7, not 727 OD, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're really hitting the jackpot here with a TOE density. And that's still quarterfinals level, by the way. 6 stars qualifier. I think that's a first.
Is it? I thought, yeah, it's actually a first, probably. We haven't seen star rating going this hard in qualifiers before, but if there is one map to do it, it's usually the LN density pick, and TOE is no exception. He's very good at doing this kind of maps. He's very known as well for this type of things, as well as maps like Penguinosity. But yeah, this is just your 200 BPM density chart is very, very, very dense. It has a lot of hands and jumps in between, and pretty much imbus patterning along the entire way of this. You have some gaps that are bigger than the others, so it's not tunnel vision. You can just tunnel vision through this and imbus play most of it, because not only you have different gap sizes, but also you have bursts in between. So you have to be very, very careful with this. Although I expect this LN map to have better scores on average than the previous one, because this has like the density check. Like if you can hit the density of this, if you can do 200 BPM hunt streams and LNs, then you will be mostly fine with this. With the timing hill, you can easily choke, but this map is not as chokeable if you can control the speed and the density, really.
Yeah, like the speedy bits of this qualifier at 200 BPM of the way is pretty demanding, and this is really gonna separate the ones who are really comfortable with this type of map and the ones who will be kind of fighting for a good team score. And let us remind you that this is a team tournament, so it doesn't matter if you have a lead player who can do like 995k or whichever score. Your entire team has to be on point during those qualifiers.
You really, really have to be on point for this one. As you can see, there's a V1SS. I expect to see some of them. Wow, straight to stage 6 without much time to think about it. And oopsie, we are getting into the Camellia portion of the Mappool, as we have what I believe is kind of like the tiebreaker of qualifiers, if you will.
Yeah, that's Camellia, and it's pretty. I think it's structured kind of pretty typically of a Camellia song. So it starts with a lot of physicality. This is 238 BPM, OD 7.8, if I'm reading correctly.
That's correct. Yeah.
So this is brought to us by Gooden, or should I say Hoden, as we are in the Netherlands right now.
Oh my God, that makes sense. But yeah, this is kind of like your tiebreaker-ish structure. It's another hybrid pick. This is on the harder side compared to what we saw on stage 3. And as you see, the patterns are less forgiving. You have very small gaps between the LNs, and in 238 BPM, that's very, very rough. And you have to transition between playstyles, right? Because you have the LNs at some point, and then into Rise, it can be hard to read, especially if your skin is not adjusted properly. So some people will want to maybe use different skins to play this particular map. And you just have every sort of challenge. Like if you had to make a tiebreaker of the qualifying pool, it would be this map, really. You have very dense long nose sections with very tricky pseudo imbus patterns into jacks and into coordination, into tech. So you pretty much have a little bit of everything. These LM patterns with the jacks are so evil.
Yeah, a lot of the difficulty of this qualifier is going to be transitional, really. The transitions are really not forgiving at all. And Gooden really did a great job at making this as dense and as challenging as it possibly can be for the hard hybrid qualifier. And we placed this as slightly hard on the hard side of
the quarterfinals.
Yeah, if I recall correctly.
Mostly due to the BPM. I think the patterns are rude, but the BPM is really what makes the difference here. It's very, very fast and very hard to control. So expect a lot of chokes on it. And now into stage 7, which is Katagiri. This is about 12,000 BPM or something. But now it's, of course, 250 BPM. It's a very fast sort of, I don't want to call this consistency pick. Some people like to call this the physical rise pick, if you will, because it's full of jump string, very dense jump string. It has some amount of tag, jump trailing, and bursty patterns. So you go back and forth between jump stream, dump stream, hand stream, I guess, a little bit of tech in between, and it's just rough. Like 8.5 OD is extremely hard to act, 250 is extremely fast, and the patterns are, for the most part, especially at the intro, somewhat tricky because there's a lot of trills involved. But as we get into the map, we will start to get a little bit more rolly, and the patterns will be a little bit more comfortable. But it's really just a mix and match between different patterning in the jump string. So that makes this a map very weird to play, really, because you're transitioning between a style of jump streaming and another type of jump streaming. So
oh no, those jacks are
the jacks
pretty,
are very tricky. The one first are very
tricky
tricky here, but they are kind of like an indicator of pattern is changing to more rolly style, to less rolly style for the most part. And it's not that rolly style is harder or tech style is harder. Both are equally hard in some ways, but the fact that you have to transition between one and the other is what makes this map very challenging.
Also, yeah, this is very Mint core in well, this is brought to us by Mint. By the way, happy birthday, Mint!
Yeah, happy birthday, Mint. Thank you for Map selecting for this World Cup. The audience is cheering for you a little bit.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, if you remember Min's Ikenai Borderline, for example, from last year, Min's patterning is like very, it adheres pretty unforgivingly according to the music, and this is no exception really. So lots of trills for phases, some jump as well for transitions. Those broken jump streams might be harder to act than the sustained ones, and those mini jacks those mini jack sections are also part of what tests consistency. We don't want to call this a jump stream qualifier. This is really consistency.
And I bet this looks very hard and it's very fast. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the highest scoring qualifiers overall. Like, if you have the speed to control this, you should be for the most part fine. Like, some of the patterns are good, but most of it is just tunnel vision your way with the jump streams. You have to pay attention to those gaps because this section of broken jump streams can be tricky to read if you're not used to this speed, really. But if you have that down, you should probably be fine if you can play 8.5 OD at this speed. But of course, we have the last qualifier now, stage 8. And yeah, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I will call nuts.
Yeah, no, really, I think this qualifier this qualifier was brought to us from the multiverse. So yep. Basically, anyways, this was brought to us by Darkstar or DZ as.
Wait, this is 4.99 stars? I didn't know this.
Huh? Wait, this must be wrong.
It has to be wrong. Like, when you see the map, you'll be like, there's no way this is 4.99 stars. This is like integral cube levels of underrated star rating, because this is extremely hard. It's very, very dumpy. There's a lot of hidden mini jacks, as you can see through the pattern, although this looks extremely fun to play. So if you have the physical capabilities, because this isn't just about speed. Sure, you have 150 BPM, but most of this is 1/8. So it's tricky to hit properly, but if you have the speed, this is so fun. Like, you can listen to the music and see very clearly what the intent of the mapper is with the direction of the rolls and the mini jack. They all make a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the song helps a lot in defining the direction of this really hard technical Rise qualifier, and I think this is by far the hardest qualifier, by far the hardest map in the qualifiers pool.
Yeah, we would categorize this to be around the semifinals level. So yeah, you can just see it by yourself. Most of it is single streaming, but the patterning of the single streams makes this very, very challenging to hit properly, and mostly because of the BPM being so high. Like, just as a 1/8ers, I'm pretty sure 300 BPM is very, very tricky to hit, like those hidden mini jacks. And you can see a lot of them, and you have to transition between that motion of rolly, maybe bursty, into core jacks even at some point. So it's very, very tricky to act properly. It requires a lot of control to hit this kind of burst. And I don't expect many teams to have like 3 players that are very capable of hitting this.
And I think, as opposed to the break in stage 2, which will bother people trying to act.
No, this is definitely needed.
This is definitely a break that people will need, because what we've seen until now was very, very intense. And also, this is 3 minutes and 31 seconds.
I think this is the longest qualifier, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's pretty long. That's pretty long, yeah. But yeah, 499, and this is the hardest qualifier. That just comes to show that star rating is not everything.
Well, to be fair, you have a fair amount of like downtime here. You have about 15 seconds to recover your stamina from those very fast and tricky bursts. But into the last quarter of the song, as we're about to enter, the rolls are back. And not just back, but also with very heavy mini jacks and core jacks, so you have to be very, very careful with them.
Yeah, I think the last part is the one that people will have to pay the most attention to, because look at those anchors.
Oh my god, and it's just all, like, the rhythms are broken all over the place. You have gaps between the jumps, and that is very hard to read, but not just that, you also have the very tricky patterning on the burst, the back and forth trails, the mini jacks all over the place, the inner columns are just stacked all the time during this chart. And this portion is where we're going to see a lot of teams dropping a lot of their combos and accuracies. But if you can hold this long, and you can hold until this point, then Congratulations, Ryan. You're very good at the game. This stage is no joke, and it's about the semifinals level. So this is still not showcasing what we want to display at the very end of it, but we don't really think is needed. Once you get to this point, we assume that you will probably be good enough to play the finals. We're hoping anyway.
Yeah, that's just a tiny portion of what we have to provide to you for the entire tournament. Like, the qualifiers are basically the taste tester for the entire tournament, and well, I've been overseeing this this pooling process with along with Min Guden and Mystarion, and wow, there's such an enormous amount of work being put behind the scenes. You cannot imagine. And yeah, and also the maps will be uploaded very soon. I do have a map to upload.
Oh, we're uploading it live?
I mean, I can.
Oh, that would be very funny.
I mean, I could. I very well could.
Well, as they were saying, yeah, the map pools should be available on the Discord server if you're a player. They should be uploaded on the wiki fairly soon as well. So stay tuned for that. As Patu is uploading the SV map right now, because we've been busy this last couple of days, I will say, and of course we didn't want to reveal the map pools in advance. So they should all be uploaded fairly soon. Don't worry too much about it. And yeah, you still have a full week. I believe the schedules of the qualifiers will be released between today and tomorrow, as is usually done. And you can always request the schedules. In qualifiers specifically, I'm not so sure if you are also allowed to request a time yourself for the qualifier. I believe you can. So if you do have any problems with the timing, you can always schedule. And of course, the qualifiers are not going to be streaming. Only the seeds reveals will be streamed next weekend. And maybe take this time a little bit to talk about some changes in the format for this Mania World Cup compared to the previous one. Some of you may not know, but we are implementing. Yeah, it's literally being uploaded right now. Some changes we have this year compared to the previous one is the Protect system, I believe, is being implemented this year, which is something we've been testing out in community tournaments before with fairly good results. So this year, I wouldn't be surprised if SVs become the most popular category to be played instead of being banned, because you get a Protect before you get a ban. So teams that are prolific playing SVs will likely want to protect their SV pick so it doesn't get banned by the other team. And yeah, that will make things fairly interesting. I expect sweeps to not be that of a common thing now that SVs are almost always going to be open. So this system should allow teams to showcase their strengths the best, right? Because it's not only with SVs, some teams are very specifically good at something and they really want to use that pick to their advantage, and that's where the Protect comes in play. But sometimes you can not only protect your strength, but you can also protect the other team's weakness. And I think that is the most interesting factor you can apply. Like, maybe a team is very bad at Kojaks and you know they're going to ban it. You can protect the Kojak pick so you have an option to break at any point if you really want to. So very interesting format and very interesting new rule that is being implemented this year for the Mania World Cup. We're very excited to see the results of it.
Yeah, as the Nets people are very excited for Protect. It has made a mainstay in the previous like very big tournaments, so really excited to see it in MWC and beyond, even for other modes.
That's exactly true. And well, I think that will be about it. I'm not sure if you have anything else to say, Patu, about this, or we can just call it quit.
There's a 1v1 tournament going on. That's the standard 1v1 tournament, I believe.
Correct. As you can see on the screen right there, it's a 1v1 tournament. It's going to be the quarterfinals match. I believe this is a match that was missing from yesterday, and it's going to be played now here at stage in about 30 minutes. It's going to be Flying Tuna versus Ninerik. So you definitely don't want to miss that match. I think they are like very, very close in skill levels. So it should hopefully be a very intense match. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tiebreaker, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, on watching matches on stage is always very, very fun to do. So it will be streamed on the COE channel. So us live people will want to go there if they want to see the match. But if not, it's fine. And yeah, I think that's about it for the 4K Mania World Cup.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks the map selectors for preparing this amazing map for us. A round of applause here for everyone involved in the Mania World Cup. In the crowd here, we see a lot of Mania players and not Mania players as well. So yeah, Patu?
We also have a weird
Oh,
event at the second stage.
that is true.
That is Mania.
For those that are
oriented.
here on the COE event, we will have something funny prepared on the second stage. I think there's two funny things. One of them is going to be maybe a live mapping display of Bad Apple. You may know that song. I think it's fairly popular. Some people told me they have a cool video as well. And of course, we have a recording to do session for a new feature artist that is coming to us at some point. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be very fun. If you're at COE, you don't want to miss it. It will be on the second stage. We'll probably do a showcase there, and then we'll be recording someplace for the news post that is going to be at the website soon. So yeah, it's you don't want to miss it, I think. But yeah, that's it for us. Patu, it's been a pleasure as always to commentate with you. I believe this is a duo that gets repeated fairly often during the World Cup, so it's very comfortable as always to commentate with you and live here for the first time. This is the first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. I don't think we're forgetting anything. We'll give you more details in the MWC server for the players. And as always, if you have any questions, if you have any feedback, it goes in the Discord. Anyways, see ya.